come over, I'm really gonna try to focus on talking to them about their participation in the process. So mostly what I'm going to talk about tonight is going to be directed at them. But before they come over, I did 3 or 4 things I jotted down after I got here that I want to make sure to mention to you guys. It's important that you manage the process and that you participate. I've had a little bit of background. I had 3 girls that played travel soccer. Younger one's a good player, but not interested in playing college. Oldest one, a very good player. We did a lot of the college visits thing, did all the recruiting stuff, and in the end, decided she didn't want to play, which was okay. And I'll explain how I can do that now. So we use this process that we're going to talk about tonight with her to get to the place where she wanted to be, and it was great. It was really great. The middle one is the smartest in the group and by far the best player. And she's currently at College of Charleston. She's in her 2nd year, starting goalkeeper. And it's been like this, and tough. So you got to really be there after they're there. You got to really be there to support them, because it's just not going to be an easy process. But I can't emphasize enough how much you need to participate. You know, when I first started doing this, I would get so upset that my daughter wouldn't follow up with emails, and she wouldn't do this, she wouldn't do this, she wouldn't make a phone call. In the end, I'm guilty of ghostwriting a bunch of emails to coaches. I mean, let's face it, these kids have busy schedules. Academics in high school is a lot tougher now than it used to be, and there's a lot more for them to do. And soccer 4 or 5 nights a week, maybe once or twice on the weekend, it just gets to be too much. So I encourage you to participate. And in the end, make this a positive experience. Because again, it's going to be like this. It's going to be up and down. You're going to think you've got it all figured out, and it's going to go sideways. Even after if you're lucky enough to get an offer and make a commitment, even after then, I'll explain to the guys a little bit later. It's just not an easy process. There's always something week to week, month to month to manage, whether you're working your way through the recruiting process or if you're lucky enough once you're in school and playing. So, just try to make it a positive. Try to be a positive influence on the process and try to make it a positive process. Otherwise, it's just not going to be any fun for anybody. Okay? I can't emphasize that enough. So that's kind of my speech to the parents tonight. Try to be as involved as you can without hovering, and try to be positive, because it's not going to be easy for these guys.
At what point did your daughter get the offer?
I'm sorry?
At what point did your daughter get the offer?
Girls are recruited much earlier than the boys are. She got her offer the spring of her very early spring, late winter of her junior year in high school.
And when should both the boys? When do they?
It's going to be a late summer junior year or fall process of the senior year for the boys. It's a much later process.
I've heard it's different from with Division I versus Division III.
Right, we'll go through all that tonight. We sure will. Yeah, really, they're not on their way over. Okay, the number one difference between Division I, II, and III is Division I and II can offer athletic scholarships. Division III doesn't offer any money. Okay, that's the number one difference. Right. The recruiting rules are much more lax in Division III. They have the ability for the coaches and the players to interact and communicate is wide open compared to the requirements for Division I and Division II players. I have the notes that I'm going to work off of tonight. I emailed to Stevie and asked him to pass on to you tonight or tomorrow when he gets a chance, okay? There are 2 links that I've given you on the notes. One is to the NCAA eligibility and recruiting link. It's going to describe to you the different levels of recruiting and the eligibility requirements for Division I, II, and III. And then the second link is a recruiting calendar. There's one on the website right now for 2011-2012 and for 2012-2013. So that'll give you some idea of the schedule for the sport of soccer. There are probably 10 or 15 sports that are listed in the calendar. You just have to scroll down and find that for you. But it's very beneficial to go through the NCAA website and kind of read up on this stuff. Okay? Part of the eligibility requirements for Division I and II is you have to enroll or register in the NCAA clearinghouse. Division III, you're not required to do that. But it's a pretty easy process. They assign you a password and a username, and you use that to update your records. In the end, if you are lucky enough to participate, you'll actually transmit your college or your high school transcripts through the clearinghouse. They'll review those at the headquarters and check them off and make you eligible to be recruited. It's a very important step, and the college coaches will help you manage that process, but it is an important step.
How did you learn what you know? How did you, just by trial and error?
Yeah. I was a Division I baseball player in college, okay? And after I got blessed with 3 daughters, none of which had any hand-eye coordination, and so softball was out of the question. So they all started playing soccer at age 5, and they learned how to coach and could do a lot of things on the coaching side, and then hit a point where tactically and technically I wasn't good enough, and I was smart enough to bring Stevie on to support us. They would have been 92. So the team that Stevie and I coached together that were in the 92 birth year had a 33-game undefeated streak at Division I WAGs. We sent, I think, 12 of the 15 or 16 players on to play in college. I think 10 of them or 11 of them are still doing it. We got very familiar with the process there. Mind if I yell at your boy?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's go, guys! Come on! I'm here on your free time. Let's go. Pick it up. Please. I know you're tired. And Stevie asked me to come in tonight and talk to you guys about, give you an introduction to the college recruiting process. Okay? I've already talked to your parents a little bit about this, and what I'm really going to try to focus on is what you guys have to do. Okay? I've got, just to give you a little background on who I am, I played Division I. I was a Division I college athlete, but I wasn't a soccer player, I was a baseball player. So I went through that process a long time ago. And I've got 3 daughters, all of which who played travel soccer, one that was recruited and decided not to play in college, one that frankly wasn't good enough and didn't want to play in college, and I have one right now playing Division I soccer in college. Okay, so as a family, as a father, as a coach, I've been through the process. Okay, so that's kind of who I am. I want to start out by asking you guys a couple of questions. Just raise your hand. We're going to go through this real quick. Okay. I just want the obvious question on it. Who wants to play college and soccer in college? Raise your hand. Right. Who really wants to play soccer in college? And it's okay if you're unsure. All right. I explained to your parents a little bit earlier. My oldest daughter was recruited to play. We used that opportunity to go around on a number of recruiting trips, and on the break between the last 2 recruiting trips we were on, we had about a 4-hour window, and I insisted we go look at this school that she hadn't wanted to see. And when we left, it was the only place she wanted to go to school, and she was done playing soccer. And that's okay, because we used this whole process to get her to where she wanted to be, okay? So I wasn't upset when it was all over. She realized when it was all over, she'd gone through the process, she'd been to a bunch of schools, she'd done overnights, done all this stuff. She wouldn't play. But she wanted to go to the school. So she went there, she graduated, she's employed this summer, graduated in May, she got a job, it's a good thing. So I'm proud of that. Why do you guys, I'm just going to pick on a quick few and just get some feedback. Why do you guys want to go to college? Why do you want to go to college? Okay, better future? Get a job, all right? Who wants to go just to play soccer? Who wants to go to continue to play soccer? All right, those are good answers. All right, so that's not why you guys are going to go. All right? Who has considered where they want to go to college? Where you want to go? Okay, where you want to go? Mason, how about you? Either one. Haven't thought about it? How about you? Okay. Anybody else? And it doesn't have to be a school. Geographically, you might want to go down south. You might want to go up north. Okay. You might want to pursue a certain major. All that stuff is really important.
Any state.
Okay.
Further on the go.
So, if you really want soccer to be part of your college experience, because that's really what you're asking yourself. Do I want I want soccer to be part of my college experience? Okay, there's a bunch of off-the-field work and communication that's required that you're going to have to commit to make it work. Okay? Alright, so this is some of the things that it's going to include. What's the most important thing you've got to do to make this work? We haven't talked about it yet. Academics, guys. If you don't pay attention to what you're doing right now and until you graduate, then you don't get it. Okay? Because it really is the most important thing. The coach, unless maybe you're the best player in the country, the coach doesn't want a bunch of knuckleheads running around who aren't paying attention to what they're doing in class. And you're not going to be there very long. So all that effort you put in is going to be wasted because you weren't willing to do the work in class. So that's the number one thing. You've got to get the academic part right. Okay? If you're a great student and it comes easy, that's great. If you're not a great student, and Lord knows, you know, I'm one of them, I wasn't a great student, there's a place for everybody. Okay? You just have to find that place and that kind of support, but you got to give it everything you have up front and make sure you get the academics taken care of. So that's not an issue with your coach. There's going to be all kinds of other issues you have to deal with. Control the most important thing you can control and take care of the academics. Okay? The second thing, I'm going to give you guys a to-do list at the end. The second thing I want you to do is to go on a college search. Get on the internet, get into one of these search engines that's going to help you make some decisions about what you want to do. Are any of you guys Fairfax County School kids? Okay. So through Blackboard, I think through, I'm not going to get this exactly right, but through the family and friends thing on there, I think through College Boards there's a link that you can use to use their search engine. Okay, it's going to ask you 15 or 20 questions. It's going to ask you what you want, where you want to be geographically, what you want to study, what you want socially out of the school. Do you want to go to a big school with a football program? You want a band at the school? You want, you know, all these questions. And in the end, it's going to spit out a short list for a perfect match of all the things that you want. And each time it clicks off one of the ones, you know, instead of being 20 out of 20, if it's 19 or 18 out of 20, the list starts to grow. And all of a sudden you're looking at schools that you didn't even think about, okay? And you're looking at you start to look at the academics there and the programs that they offer. And all of a sudden, you know, you kind of broaden your horizon on what the opportunities are. So I want you guys to go on a college search and kind of drill down on a group of schools you think you're going to be interested in. Okay? Next thing you're going to do, who's been on some of the college team web pages that you're interested in? Have you guys done some of that? All right. Every web page is going to have a recruiting questionnaire that the coach posts. It's usually a link on one of the sides of the web page. Fill out that questionnaire, okay? Go ahead and get it in. What year are you guys in high school? Juniors? Okay. Now's the time to do it, all right? After you've filled out that questionnaire, you need to send in a follow-up email. Don't make it long. Don't attach a video. They don't have that kind of time, okay? Say some things about yourself. Let them know what level you're playing at. Let them know you're interested in their program. Okay? Tell them a few personal things about yourself. Give them a link, and I'll come back to this. Give them a link to your team webpage. Because as you move through the process, that's going to be a key component in your communication with the coach. That's where your bio is going to be. That's where it's going to get updated, and that's where your schedules are going to be posted. So, you know, you're just going to make it easy on them. Making it easy on these staffs is important. They have a lot to do. They're looking at a lot of kids. They got stuff going on in their personal lives that limit what they can do and can't do. Okay, so you need to make sure you do that. Okay? The most critical thing to do after that is communicate. Follow up with emails to these guys. Okay? They have believe this, in their system, their computer system, they have a tracking program. Every time you send them an email, the program tracks that Joe Smith sent me an email today. He's interested. Okay? She sent me another email. And you start reading them. Okay, at the end of the recruiting process, I got Bob over here who sent me 5 emails. Hadn't heard from him in 3 months. I got Jim over here who sent me 40 emails. I'm almost tired of talking to the guy. But they're equal. I'm choosing the guy who sent me 40 emails. He wants to be here. He's paid attention to what we're doing. Okay? You have got to communicate with these guys on a regular basis. Okay? And it's not long. 3, 4, 5 lines. Tell them how your weekend went, even if you had a bad weekend. Okay? Tell them how it went. You went and saw a concert you liked, tell them who you went and saw. Let them get to know you a little bit. Alright? But it's important that these things go. Maybe you guys take some time off during the winter, I don't know, do some other sport in high school. One of my daughters was a big swimmer. Okay? And so in the off season she swam, and the coaches wanted to know how she was doing. So they asked how she was doing. Okay? So I can't emphasize the contact part enough. Parents, this is where you're going to have to jump in and help out a little bit. Encourage these guys all you can to communicate with these coaches on a regular basis. And in some cases, you're just going to have to jump in and help. Okay? And bang your head on the wall, why can't you do this, why can't you do that? But in some cases, you're just going to have to jump in and help them organize something. Guys, don't, I just said that, but that doesn't mean all of a sudden you get to rely on your parents to do all your work for you either. Okay? It's going to have to be a team effort between you and your family. Okay. As you're moving through the process, try to set some time aside, and I know how difficult it is because you guys were playing virtually every weekend. school demands, but try to set some time aside to make some college visits, okay? Don't be one of these people who looks at a program, looks at the front page of the website, says, boy, that's a nice looking building with a lot of pretty girls on the campus, I'm going here. Bad idea, okay? Take the time to go and make some college visits. While you're there, if you can, obviously you want to try to meet with somebody on the academic side to understand what they're offering. Make sure that they're offering the academic program and the level of academics that you're looking for. And then you ought to let the coach know that you're in town, made the trip, and you want to meet with them if they can. Maybe if you're lucky and it's in season, you get to observe a practice. Okay, real important. Get to see how the team interacts with the coaches and vice versa. You don't like a coach that screams at you and the guy did nothing but scream for 2 hours, cross him off your list. Not going to work. Okay? Maybe you get lucky enough to see a game. Okay? Real important to see these coaches in a game situation. If you can't get to the college that you're looking at, the university you're looking at, to see a game, you've got other options. Maybe they're playing in the area. Okay? So maybe you want to go to Madison and they're in town to play at Mason. Okay? Go watch them play. It's a blast. The coach can't talk to you because he's not on campus. If you say hi, he'll probably say hi. Technically he's not supposed to, but he's not going to be rude. Right? But you can't stop him. If you're there to be recruited by the Madison coach and you're at the Mason campus, you can't talk to the Madison coach. Okay? That's not allowed. But take that opportunity. If neither one of those opportunities work, most of the college web pages, team web pages, have a link for you to watch their games over the internet. So they have a live feed, so you can watch them play. Right? Worst case scenario, they give you live stats. It's kind of boring to watch. Most parents wouldn't do it. I do it because my daughter's playing and I keep track of some things. But they have live stats, so they kind of tell you what's going on during the game. All right? But there are 3 or 4 ways for you to watch and see what's going on. We talked about academics and we talked about playing soccer in college. Okay? But in the end, guys, and this happens all the time. My daughter last year started as a freshman, Division I goalkeeper. Halfway through the season, she dove for a ball in warm-ups and tore her UCL. The Tommy John ligament, you always hear the pictures, okay? Done for the season. If you don't like where you are, and soccer stops for you, whether it's temporarily or permanently, okay, you need to be in a place that you like, that you're comfortable with. You're comfortable with the students, the faculty, and everything else about the university that's going to shape who you are, okay? So the #1 rule is, if soccer doesn't work out, you still want to be at that school. Okay? My daughter had a roommate last year, freshman, all-conference freshman team, led the freshmen on the team in scoring, incredible play. 10 days before preseason this year, we get a phone call, she's not coming back. Why didn't she want to come back? Because she wanted to be a nurse, and the school doesn't offer a nursing program. What's the point? I mean, I just don't get it. So, can take a year off, still wants to play soccer, but it's tough to gear back up after a year off and get back into that mode. So, think your way through this stuff, okay? You don't have to know the day you go to school what you want to be, but if you do have some focus, you'd want to pay attention to what programs are offered at the school, okay? So you say to yourself, well, that's a good decision for her. Tough decision, but she went and did what she wanted to do. Guess what, though? It impacts the team. It impacts the coaching staff who spent time recruiting her, and she decommitted at such a late date. They didn't have an opportunity to spread that money around maybe to where they need it. So just be considerate of what's going on with some of the other players and some of the other recruits, okay? Pay attention to what you're doing, because this isn't, 90% of it's about you, but the other 10% may not be, okay? All right, let me just jump ahead. There are 3 divisions, right? Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3. Right? Division 1, most competitive. Division 2, pretty competitive. Certainly teams in Division 2 can beat teams in Division 3, or Division 1. And then Division 3, which are generally smaller schools, but play a great level of soccer. Who knows what the big difference is between 1 and 2 and 3? 1 and 2 being together.
1 and 2 can offer you scholarships.
Correct.
And 3 can only give you
So
grants.
Division 1 and 2 can offer you an athletic scholarship. You can get athletic money. Division 3 you can't. Okay? And generally, if these guys want you and you want to be part of the program, they'll find some way to get you some academic money somehow, some way, or get you involved in some other program to make it affordable. Okay? But that's one of the big things you need to be aware of. The other thing that you need to be aware of is how the recruiting process works. If you want to be a Division 1 or Division 2 athlete, all right, and there's a link in this document. I emailed this to you. I need you to send it to everybody tomorrow. There's a link in here to the NCAA recruiting site, and within that link is another link to what they call the clearinghouse. If you want to play Division 1 or Division 2 soccer, you need to register in the clearinghouse. They'll assign you a password, a username, and you'll fill out a bunch of initial information, and then basically it's a way for your college transcripts to flow through the system, get approved by the clearinghouse, and make you eligible, okay? You don't want to be standing around with some guy making an offer to you and not having cleared the clearinghouse, or you're done. Okay? It just doesn't work. They can't offer you a scholarship if you've not been given eligibility by the NCAA. Okay? Really important.
I think it's $65.
I'm sorry?
I think it's $65 to sign up.
Correct. There is a fee. Thank you for mentioning that. There is a fee. Yes. Okay. Right.
Could you repeat the question?
No, I haven't met anybody that's moved from Division 3 up to Division 2 or Division 1, so I don't know whether or not there is some eligibility requirement that needs to take place in that transition period. That's a great question. I don't know the answer. It's hard. Well, but you might play Division 3 for a year and decide you want to leave and go play for a different program. And in Division 3, there aren't any limitations on movement. You can play for a different school every year if you want. Division 1, Division 2, you're limited in your movement by the NCAA and more specifically by your coach. Okay. Any questions? Any more questions about Division 1, Division 2, Division 3?
Just to manage expectations as far as what soccer teams are allowed to have, Division 1, Division 2, maybe Division 1 specifically, as far as number of scholarships the team is allowed to have at any one particular time?
Right now, a fully funded program would have 13 scholarships.
Nope.
Maybe 12, but I think it's 13.
9.9. For the men, it's 9.9. For the girls, it's 14.
Okay, sorry. That's better information than I have. I'm sorry, I'm skewed to the girls' side.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Okay. So you've got a fully funded program. Out of that group, you might have 2 players that are on full rides, and then it starts to drop down from there. Okay? So that's important to know. Another reason why academics is so important, guys, my daughter is on a 60% athletic scholarship, which she's out of state, so really all that did was get me down to in-state tuition, which I wasn't very happy about. But she's such a great student, she made it into the honors program and got the rest of the money academically. So she's really on a full ride although about 40% of the money is academic money. Okay, so all the more reason. You said, when you hear people walk around and say, oh, he got a full ride, she got a full ride, chances are there's no way that kid's on a full ride. Okay, it's a myth. It just doesn't happen. Okay. There are a couple of things. I guess I have left this one out. But let's just talk about, if you're lucky enough right now, I'll come back to some more communication stuff in a minute. But if you're lucky enough to get an offer, understand what's being offered. Okay? If a coach says, we're going to give you 50%, ask them 50% of what? Am I getting 50% of room and board, tuition, both, books? Okay? You need to define what the offer is. Okay? And if they give it to you over the phone, for instance, the offer that my daughter accepted, ultimately we got it by telephone. And we wouldn't answer anybody until we actually saw it in writing. Okay? Make sure you're getting it in writing. Okay? And one more reason to get it in writing. Before my daughter showed up her freshman year in school, the coaching staff changed. So when on signing day, which is supposed to be the greatest day of your young soccer life, right? She gets the paperwork through and the dollar value is less than what the commitment was that we had in writing. Coach swore he didn't know anything about it. Slammed the email into the machine, and 20 minutes later, problem solved, and we were moving forward. If I didn't have that email, it would have been an uncomfortable situation for everybody. Okay, so make sure that it's in writing. Okay, very important. All right. Let me go back to to stay on the subject of the offer. Most coaches are not going to put a time limit on your acceptance, okay? That's a good thing. Some coaches are going to put a time limit on your acceptance. In my opinion, that's a bad thing, okay? This shouldn't be about, timing. If they want you to be there, they want you to be there, and they're willing to wait, okay? So if they're playing you against another player, or if they're just trying to force you into a decision, frankly, I'd have a second thought. And I think I would get a lot more support on my side of that from college coaches than not, okay? If they're willing to make an offer, they're willing to wait to hear what you have to say. On the flip side of that, be considerate of them, okay? It can get a little bit cutthroat, and frankly, some of them may deserve what you give them. But in the end, understand that these guys are out there, their life depends, their livelihood depends on the decisions that they're making, the offers that they're making, okay? They're bringing in the wrong guys and losing. They've got a family, next thing you know, they're out, they still have a house payment, they're still buying food, all this stuff still goes on in their lives, okay? But be considerate about what their job is, be considerate about other recruits that are going through the same process you are. If someone made you an offer and you're not interested, tell them. Thank them, okay? Feel good about it and move on. Don't drag it out. It's just not fair to them, it's not fair to you, okay? I have a handout over here. If you guys, everybody just open it up and start handing it around. It's just a to-do list for you guys to remind you about some of the things that we talked about. I'll just roll through it real quick while you're passing it around. Do a college search and determine where you want to go and what interests you. Okay? Research the programs at the schools that interest you and be realistic. Okay? Be realistic about where you think you want to go and play. Understand what you're willing to do to play at that place. Are you willing to get redshirted and practice for a whole year so you can have an opportunity to play your second year? If you really want to be a striker and they're loaded up with strikers and you know you're not going to get on the field till you're a senior, are you willing to wait 3 years? Okay? All kinds of stories about kids that waited 4 or 5 years to play. There's a mom that lives here locally that won 4 national championships at North Carolina and played 12 minutes in 4 years. That was in her last game. That's a lot. That's a big commitment to the game if you're willing to do something like that. Okay? I don't care if you're winning championships or not. Once you understand what goes into it, it takes an awful lot of effort to get it. Okay? Jump in and get these recruiting questionnaires out now. Now is the season to do that. Okay? Particularly, you guys are moving into State Cup play, I understand. Congratulations. You get to the next round. You're going to championship weekend. There are going to be coaches in the crowd championship weekend. Okay? Try to get a few out. You don't have to get them all out. Don't go kill yourself for the next 2 weeks and forget about what else is important. But if you have some time, get some questionnaires out and let the coaches know what's going on in the next few weeks. Okay? Follow up and maintain communication with the programs that you're interested in and that are interested in you. As this process goes on, you guys are going to start getting emails out of the blue. We're going to go to a tournament one weekend. There'll be some coaches there. Next thing you know, you're going to get an email from somebody you've never heard of or a school that you didn't think was interested. Okay? Communicate with these people. If you're not interested in going there, tell them. Okay? My daughter wasn't going anywhere up north. She didn't want to be cold. So if she got anything north of Maryland, thanks, but no thanks. Didn't matter if it was from Harvard. She wasn't going. Unless someone has Harvard. She wasn't going. Okay? Schedule that college visit if you can. If you can't, figure out some way to get your eyes on the staff at some level. But more importantly, schedule that college visit so you can be on campus and be around the student body. Those are the people that you're going to interact with on a daily basis. Okay, really important. Really, really important. Next thing is, and we haven't forgotten it because it's the most important thing, pay attention to your academics. And then start repeating the process. Communicate, pay attention to your academics, communicate, pay attention to the academics, and just keep rolling it over. Okay? Really, really important to control that academic component. It is one of the things you can control in the process. All right? Yeah.
You think it's worth going to those one-day college ID camps?
Sure.
If
it's at a place where you want to go. Absolutely. That's a great point. Any opportunity you have to get in front of these coaches, particularly in that situation, sometimes you're lucky enough if it's a goofy weekend and they're not getting a great turnout. Next thing you know, you might be one of 20 instead of one of 400. Down in Castle, there are probably 3,000 or 4,000 players there that weekend. That's crazy. Yes, that's a great point. If they're having, and camps too, summer camps. Okay, if your coach is putting on a summer camp, go. Okay, get to stay in the dorms, get to eat the food. Top 5 important component. Food stinks. Don't want to go to school then. All right, get that. You got put a lot of work in. Come back and eat junk. That's no fun. I'm not being serious. These are the things you need to do. Okay? These are the things you need to do. And a lot of these coaches have gotten away from these full week camps. Most of them are 3-4 days now, which is plenty of time to get a feel.
Right.
And you're not spending your whole summer jumping from camp to camp. Okay. Any questions from you guys? Being awful quiet. Yes, sir. Correct. So the question is, how much time is dedicated to soccer? How much time to academics? Maybe how much free time you have on top of that, right? The NCAA now limits the girls, and I think the boys has to be somewhat similar, to 20 hours a week of soccer. So that includes practice and games. Not travel, but practice and games. So you figure, throw in the travel time to the field. For instance, where my daughter plays in Charleston, their field is not on campus, so they have to travel about 10 or 15 minutes to the complex and back. Throw an hour in for that. Throw another hour in if you're injured. You gotta go a little bit early. Might stay a little bit late to get some treatment. Next thing you know, that 2-hour practice just turned into a 5-hour ordeal. Okay? But you're limited to 20 hours of practice time each week. Okay? Frankly, I think it's fair to say if you're a decent student, you have very limited free time. Sunday night seems to be the only free night of the week that these kids get. Okay? That's their night off, Sunday night. Because you usually play on a Friday, play on Sunday, and the coach will typically give you Monday off. Unless things aren't going well. I'm sorry? You can go to church on Sunday. You don't get up and go Sunday morning, right? So let me tell you guys, you really have to love what you're doing, and you really have to be dedicated to what you're doing to go through the grind, because it is no, there's not a lot of free time. Yes, sir.
Is there any soccer activity in the off-season in college?
Absolutely. My daughter believes that the spring is tougher than the fall. Okay, so her season went like this. I'll do her freshman season. She reported on August 1st, and so we were one of the late graduations. She went to Centerville. We got 5 weeks off during the summer between graduation and reporting. Okay, reported August 1st, first game August 14th, played into November. They got a week or so off around Thanksgiving, came back, did winter conditioning the entire winter. Around February, they were back out on the field training. The spring season is where you do all of your one-on-one training with your coaches, because that's where the free time is. You're not going to get a lot of one-on-one training in the fall because of the game schedule and what's important to the team. So you're doing a lot of one-on-one training in the spring. They practice all the way up till about 10 days before the end of the school year. They came home for 10 days, and then they took a trip to the Caribbean and played for 2 weeks in the Caribbean. They came home, she was home for 4 weeks, and went back on August 1st to play soccer. It is. You better like what you're doing. You better like the people you're doing it with. Okay? It's a grind. It's really tough. Any more questions? I didn't want to overload you guys tonight. I didn't want to tell a bunch of stories. I wanted to get you focused in on what you need to do now. What you need to do now is get your name and your face in front of the coaches at the institutions where you want to participate. Okay? That's critical. This is your year. The girls have already been doing this for a year. They get recruited a full year, even more sometimes earlier than you do. This is your year right now. Okay? And this is what you need to focus on. All right? Anything else? Good night.
All right. Thank you.
All this